Hey Internet, my name is Julian and I'm back with this week's movie review. This weekend I was able to see Going in Style, which is actually a remake from a 1979 movie of the same name, which originally was created by Martin Brest. The movie's actually really good. It has some really great comedy to it, and it's not raunchy, dirty comedy. It's actually pretty clean, and something you don't often see in movies nowadays. Um, my opinion, honestly, I'll just start with it from the top. It's great. It's probably one of the funniest movies I've seen as of late, and probably one of the best comedies so far this year. Now we still have 8 months to go within this year, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of more comedy movies coming out. But for a clean style comedy movie, it's actually wonderful. Um, so now that there's my opinion, we'll kind of go into some formalities, and I'll give you the reasons why this movie's so good. So for some of the formalities, the movie is actually directed by Zach Braff, and if you've heard that name, you've probably seen the TV show Scrubs, where he was the lead character DJ in that. He's not been doing a lot of on-screen roles as of late. He's been doing a lot more behind-the-scenes stuff, and his work's actually pretty great. It stars Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Alan Arkin, Joey King, Matt Dillon, Christopher Lloyd, and Anne Margaret. Now, the movie released April 7th with a runtime of 96 minutes and a PG-13 rating for drug content, language, and some suggestive material. Now that we've gone through that, I'll kind of just jump right into it. I didn't know that this movie was a remake from a 1979 film as well. I've not seen the original, so I can't really base it off that and compare it to it. But if I have to say anything about this movie, it's great. As I said before, the comedy style is very almost clean, not very raunchy. Obviously, with the PG-13 rating, you can't really have too much raunchy comedy in there anyway. But it's about three old guys trying to rob a bank. So right from there, you can see where the humor kind of starts to kick in. Things like arthritis and old age kind of kicking in and things like that. So that was probably the best thing of the movie is that the comedy style and the comedy in it was top notch. I mean, if you've ever seen some comedy that comes out of Morgan Freeman and Alan Arkin and Michael Caine, then you know the kind of style of comedy that's going to be in this movie, and you can kind of go from there and decide on whether or not you want to see it as a comedy, because that's what it really is. That's what it really boils down to. It's a comedy movie, and it's fantastic. Now, I don't know how far off the storyline is from the original. I do know that the characters are still the same. I believe it's Willie, Albert, and Joe are the three main title characters for both movies, and I know it's a movie about three older guys robbing a bank. And that's, I think, probably where the majority of the movie, both the original and this movie, are similar. I don't know how much the story differs from there. There's different aspects to each character and why they decide to rob the bank. With Michael Caine's character, he's about to lose his house where he actually took in his daughter and granddaughter and really just wants to see his granddaughter succeed. With Morgan Freeman's character, he's got his own daughter and his own granddaughter that he'd like to see again before he dies, and essentially he's starting to have kidney failure, so it's coming soon for him. With Alan Arkin's character, it's a little bit different, though. They don't really give much of a backstory other than he seems kind of lonely, I guess. Now, he's roommates with Morgan Freeman's character, and other than that, it doesn't really say if he's got family out there. It doesn't really say if he's got any sons or daughters. He could have had this role of he had a wife and passed away, but we really don't know much about it until we find out later that he starts having a relationship with a woman but doesn't really want a relationship. So I can kind of see that him maybe in the past being dealt a bad hand with a woman, or possibly his wife dying, and that's why he's afraid to date again. But it doesn't really explain much. But from there, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but it's a really good storyline. You can understand where they're coming from and how it relates kind of to today's, I guess, economical times. So it's interesting. To see that they've taken things that are happening nowadays and putting it in this movie, and seeing, how older people sometimes live. That being said, at points in times, the movie can be a little depressing. I know from my point, the realization that it wasn't really depressing that older people are going through this, because it is depressing. More the fact that some of these great actors that I see on screen, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Alan Arkin, and even Christopher Lloyd being in the movie, you can see that they are aging from some of their roles earlier on, 2 decades ago. So it's kind of sad to see that some of these actors are getting up in age, and obviously they're still playing a role, so obviously maybe not all the aches and pains that they share on screen are something that they share in real life, but you can see that it does happen to people, whether you're famous or not. So now for all that sad stuff is out of the way, everything about the movie was actually pretty good. The acting, the screenplay I thought was really good. There wasn't really much graphics, like visuals or anything. There was one kind of like montage for training, where they train with someone who's a thug, I think they call him. Something, I think like thug or like scumbag or something, that they hire essentially to train them to rob a bank, and they do like a whole training montage. And some of the effects in there are actually pretty cool. The way that they transitioned between screens was actually really cool. Now, as for the sound and soundtrack, everything was fine. Nothing seemed too low or too high or, anything like that. The soundtrack was okay. I mean, there really wasn't too much of a crazy soundtrack where, you're like, oh man, this is amazing. But it fit the movie. Other than that, the environment felt real, the city type that they were living in. It's funny that, like, as the movie starts off, they're talking about their hardships and everything, and about, how they've been friends for 25 years or more, working at the same steel plant, and, they all, like, every so often they have dinner together, and it's funny to watch Michael Caine's character leave the house that they have dinner at, which is actually Alan Arkin and Morgan Freeman's character's house, and to walk across the street to his own home. And it didn't feel like that was the type of thing going on. It was more of like he was going to leave, get in a car, and drive somewhere, and it was kind of funny to see them build this city, this large city, but then yet them live right across the street from each other. So it was actually pretty cool. Like I said, there's plenty of comedy in it, and it's pretty clean comedy. There are obviously some curse words in there. As I said in the rating, there is PG-13 rating for language itself. They do drop an F-bomb once, and that still fits underneath the PG-13 rating. But it's kind of funny. So, if you're interested in seeing this movie, and you have any inkling to actually go see it, I recommend going out and seeing it. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth just to go have a laugh, and to see a story about an older generation and seeing how they're struggling, whether or not it might not be exactly realistic. I'm sure there's plenty of things in there that are true to some people. Not being able to afford to get a transplant for a kidney because of their age, or losing their home at that age, things like that. So, it's a great story, and you get to learn from it, you get to laugh with it, and I think it's definitely worth seeing. So go out and see it if you haven't. There were a couple other movies that also came out this weekend. I just didn't have the stomach to go see them. It was Boss Baby and The Smurfs, and you'd actually have to pay me to go see those movies. Until I start getting paid to go watch movies, I'm going to try and watch as many movies as I can, but it's not worth spending the $15 on going to watch those one movie, and a movie that I honestly don't really want to watch. So that's it from me here. If you do like this video, go ahead and give me a like. If you'd like to see more reviews in the future, please give us a subscription here. And just go ahead and share with your friends and family. I'm sure people are out there looking for movie reviews. And this is kind of an honest one. So That's it really for me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.